Hi guys, Jack Rogers here, and in this video we are going to be talking about 4 strategies for lead nurture and how you guys can capitalize on every single lead that you get, whether that's through Facebook ads or through any other forms of advertising, right? So this is strictly going to be lead generation based. If you're an e-com store, this video is not going to be that applicable for you. Obviously feel free to carry on watching if you deem it's necessary, but just want to make that clear at the start. So let's talk about the 4 strategies to start with. So we've got speed, we've got volume, we've got availability, and we've got personalization, right? So we'll dive into each of these separately, and then I've got another resource that we can dive into as well. So with speed, it has 2 functions. First is going to be the speed from opt-in to initial contact. Now, if you're not contacting your leads within the first 5 minutes, you are losing out on a lot of money, in my personal opinion. And the reason behind that is when somebody submits that lead form, they are going to be at their most emotional state. They're going to be excited. And the longer that it takes us to get in contact with them, I just tend to find the excitement dies down. They start sort of questioning, do they really want it? Which is why you want to be as fast as possible. Now, the second point of this is going to be the response time when they get back in contact with you. And if you do not respond to the lead's messages in a time that's convenient for them to speak, you will lose the window of opportunity to get them booked in. And I've seen this time and time again. So really you want to have your, like, whatever tool you use, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's Go High Level or some form of other CRM, you ideally want to have that open at all times. And it is a frustrating process. It is a long-winded process. And as you can sort of see here, I put, this is why working leads requires constant vigilance and long hours. It does suck. It is soul destroying, but at the end of the day, speed is king, right? Now, the next one is going to be volume. And the sheer amount of outreach attempts that you make will often dictate whether a lead responds or not. So many times you are trying to catch them in their window of attention. So let's break this down into like logical processes, right? So day 1 to 5 is going to be the most important. And statistically, that is where 94% of appointments are scheduled. So you really want to put sort of 95% of your effort into those first 5 days, right? And that obviously excludes any like long-term nurture campaigns. But what you then want to do after sort of that day 1 to 5 is nurture those leads in a slightly more subtle process. I am going to go through a like follow-up sequence in a moment, but I think this point is just to sort of summarize that first 5 days is crucial, right? And the more outreach attempts that you can do, the better. Now, the next one is going to be availability, and I have trialed and tested a variety of different options here, and this is what I have found to be best, right? So Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and then 3 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. So as I've said here, this is the optimal time for having a life, but also getting max appointments scheduled. So the logistics behind this is obviously any time after 5 p.m. people are going to be off work, and people tend to start work at slightly different times as well, which is why the morning works. And then between 12 to 3, people are either on lunch breaks and they're not going to want to be contacted, or they might just be in like that deep work mode. I tend to find with a lot of people, it takes a few hours just to get into the day, right? Now, this part here is a strategy that I haven't actually implemented, but I saw an Alex Hormozy video on this, what he used to do for Gym Launch, and he used to double book every time slot. Now, obviously, if this is going to be dependent on your show at rate, if your show at rate's 80%, then it logistically doesn't make sense to do this. But if your show at rate is, say, 50%, you can actually double book every time slot. And then that way, you're essentially going to capitalize on at least one of those appointments if somebody doesn't show. Now, the last one is going to be personalization, right? And I see this mistake time and time again. People will get a lead in and they'll be like, "Hi, John, it's Steve from X, Y, and Z. Thanks for submitting a lead form. Here's a load of information, right? It's templated, it's scripted. You're not going to respond. So the goal is to get them to know that they are speaking with a real person, even if they're not, right? So a few strategies that you can implement here is going to be voice notes, videos, GIFs, emojis, any form of open-ended question. I'm a really big fan of open-ended questions, right? So I know we sort of spoke about this on a live call at the start of the week, but if I had a lead come in for, say, a gym, what I could say is, hi, thank you so much for submitting the lead form. Why are you looking to get started on your fitness journey now, right? It sparks the conversation. You're going to be much more inclined to respond to that. And just to sort of summarize here, if they know it is a real person speaking with them, they're going to be much more likely to respond, right? And like one thing that I say to a lot of people, which is commonly overlooked, is that envision yourself as the customer in that situation. Are you more inclined to respond to a templated message, or are you more inclined to respond to a message that asks a question and delivers like a genuine curiosity around why you're trying to achieve a desired outcome, right? So I've just got an example here, and this is something that I have implemented and I've seen implemented for quite a few businesses with quite good success. Is they have, hi, hey name, owner here with so-and-so, keep a lookout for a phone call from this person, she'll get you taken care of. PS, Facebook advertisers rule, right? That is something that I do for quite a lot of niches, like gym owners rule, fitness professionals rule. Now you'll see here, there is a spelling mistake here, and that is actually done on purpose. So what I will do is send that message, and then straight away I will say, typo, I meant name, whoops. Now you can automate that process. It's very easy to do. Where you have your dynamic field for name, you can literally just put a random letter in and then have this message send like 1 minute afterwards. And I've seen like the response rate from this work really well, right? So what I want to do now is go through a follow-up sequence. So I know there is a training video on this, but I have tweaked it a little bit. So I feel like it's going to be vital to share. So what we've got here is day one, you want to call, SMS and email, right? And we want to use multiple points of contact over multiple different channels, right? So ideally, I would stick with text, phone, email. Now, if you can integrate like WhatsApp or Messenger, those are going to be bonus things for you to implement. I know with Go High Level, you can't do that, but like the more touch points over the more channels that you can have, the better. And I will always double dial. And what that essentially means is I will ring somebody up. If they don't answer, I will ring them back up straight away. Now, why the logistics behind this is when you double dial somebody, it actually breaks silence mode. So if they have silent do not disturb on, for example, and you double dial them, they are going to get that phone call come through. So I've seen I've seen answer rates dramatically increase when businesses have implemented that double dial strategy. So day one, I will call, SMS, email, and then towards the end of the day, I will call them. As we sort of spoke about over here, that first day 1 to 5 is going to be the most important one. So on day 2, I will call, SMS, and email again. Day 2, I will call them again towards the end of the day. Day 3, I will call, SMS, email, and I will call them again towards the end of the day. Day 4, I will call, SMS, email. Day 5, I will call an SMS. Day 8, I will call, SMS, email. Day 15, I will call, SMS, and email again. And then day 30, I will call, SMS, and email. Now, I will then repeat that call, SMS, email every 30 days. And I will follow up with the lead until they tell me no. So now I just wanted to record a separate video giving like the reasons as to like why you want to follow up and what are sort of the best practices for following up, right? So the best practice that I can give you here is to be the solution. When you call these leads, you need to remember that you are offering a solution to a major problem that they are facing, right? And we know that because if they wasn't facing the problem, they wouldn't have submitted the lead form. You aren't bothering them, you are actually doing them a favour, right? And if you follow up in the correct, friendly, personalised approach, they will appreciate the continued follow-up as long as you do it nicely and professionally, right? So you want to make it personal. I know we sort of touched upon this, but you want to establish like personal connections with people. If you can sort of integrate sort of automated messages and manual messages where you can show like a caring but professional setting rather than like a cold and a corporate aspect, tends to work really well. And it's like when you answer the call, one thing that I almost guarantee most of you do when you ring up a lead is, and I did this for for a couple of years, right? I'd ring up and be like, "Hiya, is this Sarah? Yeah, it is Sarah. Who's this?" You set off on the wrong foot straight away, right? There's friction points. It's a bit of an awkward start to the conversation. So towards the end of my time as an agency owner, I would tweak it slightly. So I would ring them up and be like, "Hi Sarah, it's Jack from so-and-so, how you doing?" And then they would be a little bit like, "Oh, yeah, I'm good, thanks, how are you?" And then they'd be like, "Who's this?" I'd be like, "Oh, it's Jack, I'm from so-and-so company, you just submitted a lead form, how's your day going?" And then you straight into the conversation, right? You're enthusiastic, you're energetic, rather than having that like really awkward start to the conversation. Now, one thing that I want to make sort of really clear is a lead is a lead. Every single lead that has come in has taken an action showing they're interested, right? If you don't get hold of them this month, try them next month. Every person with the pain and suffering that you treat is a potential client, right? Whether they've signed up this month or next year, that problem doesn't go away without your solution. So now I want to sort of go into the reasons as to why we implement such a intense follow-up system and why you should follow up with leads in general, right? And the reason is between work, family, mortgages, people forget about absolutely everything, right? The amount of doctor's appointments I've missed, like taxes, like I've forgot date nights before, but that's a story for another day. So by following up, and communicating, you are showing that you are a real, genuine person, right? And by following up on a message, you are reinforcing why they signed up in the first place, and you're sort of connecting the dots between their goals and your solution, right? And I know a lot of people, when I go through this follow-up system, have like doubts about the number of follow-ups. They don't want to be annoying people. And I think the best course of action and the best sort of mindset training I can give here is that by following up, you are expressing the confidence you have in your or your business's ability to fix their problem, right? And by fixing that, you can alleviate their pains, their suffering, their struggles, and help them move towards your goal. Now, one final thing that I wanted to touch upon is when you should stop following up. And for me, I will follow up with the lead until they tell me to stop. No sooner, no later. And just because they ignored a text message or a voicemail or a phone call, it doesn't mean they're not interested in the service. It doesn't mean they don't like you and you're not spamming them. You're just genuinely following up for something that they have signed up for, right? And one thing just to bear in mind off the back of this is people are super busy. And life does just genuinely get in the way, right? And it happens for absolutely everybody. But they provided their information and they became a lead for a reason. So keep reaching out until the prospect tells you they are no longer interested in your offer. So I hope all of that makes sense. Any questions, any concerns around this, please let me know.